the JKD Tribe, the gathering down in space in Hoxton, the brainchild of the one and only, the legendary, and he is. You know, I just love him. He's awesome. People call him it's the godfather of JKD in Europe. I saw somebody once say it was the grandfather of JKD in Europe, and I thought to myself, if Bob sees that, he's going to be raging. Now, so we're here today where you've got the 5 full instructors under Guro Dan Inosanto in the UK, and as we were saying on the way in, we were very spoilt for years because we had the big man himself 3 times a year, and then just with his schedule it's worked out, and just over the last couple of years you don't get to meet up that often.
I think it's like, well, for him it's like borders and
exactly.
It's become much harder now.
And then obviously you put this all together.
We did,
and it's just been a resounding success, right?
But this thing today was actually Phil's idea.
Yes.
Phil and I were talking about doing this and Phil said, well, why don't we get the band together again? And I went, oh, really? And we talked about it. I said, oh, go on then. And so I organised it, as always. They always say, oh, I'm going to organise it, but they never do. I'm the one who ends up doing it all. So we've organised it, and it's been great today. We had, 150 people, 200 people? Yeah. So
it's been awesome. Today, what's brought us together is Guro and Carly, right?
Yes. And
your organisation used to be called JKD Carly International,
it
right?
Did,
and now it's evolved into what we're going to have a quick chat about.
4D. Well, JKD Carly International was great. I had people from all over the world coming to that, and we always stressed about, I think, but I just felt it was a bit tethered in the past. It wasn't involving, say, Bruce would have liked us to have done. Not that it totally depends on Bruce, because we're all individuals, and we were all involving even before Bruce. We were doing boxing and judo and stuff like that. So 4D came about really I met Andy Norman it was an old student of mine in Italy, and we were talking about moving things on, and we were training a bit together, and we were all on this track, and we realised we were all on the same track. We were all going, no, we don't do that anymore, because that doesn't work.
We need to be,
this is where we need. So things were changing, and things didn't have a name really. I mean, he had his defence lab when he closed down KFM, and then I talked to Phil, and Phil and I have really come back together after not talking to each other for years.
Really?
Over some madness.
Yes.
Insignificant madness that neither of us
which is always
remember.
the way,
Neither of us remember. And we're now the closest of friends. We're on the phone every day. And so then I just got in with these 2 lunatics who were evolving, and I was evolving anyway, and I was always a heretic anyway. And started looking at what we do and why we do it, and is that deliverable, and do people understand it, and can people use it in a self-defense situation? And the paradox always seemed to me that people would do, say, Jun Fan, or they do Panantukan, but then when they sparred, they just did either boxing or Thai boxing. No one ever did a foot trap, no one ever did manipulation. So basically they were living a lie, really. And I thought, I love this stuff. So how do I make this stuff great? And then I said, and also growing up as a kid, I'd had lots of fights. And on top of that, I'd spent quite a lot of time with Dan privately, we're doing stuff. So all those things, and then when I had my bad hips, so I had 15 years not being able to jump around. So I had to find space within space, How to manipulate other people so I had time, because I couldn't run in and out,
well, this is the thing, you taught it today, and first of all, any of you guys, if you ever booked me for a seminar, this is a guy you should actually book. So I always say I am the combination of 2 things. I'm a really bad hybrid Rick Fay and Bob Breen tribute act. So I go in there, my humour's
some
not
tribute
as good.
acts are great. Nearly Dan, I went and saw Nearly Dan, and I saw Steely Dan the next week, and I really thought Nearly Dan were better, really.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I saw Oasis and I thought they were way better than Status Quo. So you know what I mean? And I like it. No, but it's like what I love about Bob is, first of all, the way you deliver it, the humour behind it. You know, the angle 5 in the jail. I love that. If you don't know, it's hilarious. There's a picture that
soap block, isn't it?
The low soap block, indeed, yeah. But it was like today, you one of the moves that you had was
the reverse Heil Hitler, wasn't it?
The reverse Heil Hitler, yeah. So I've stolen a lot from Bob. On the Puta Capala, when the guy doesn't want to go one way, say, but I want apples today. Go, sorry, we're only selling oranges. And I stole that from one of your DVDs. And everyone
I probably stole it from some other person.
Yeah, no.
We're all stealing in like that in a
that's it.
circle, aren't we? I don't think anyone's really...
No, I don't think anyone's truly original. But then again, you say, it's just a mixture of what you've done, which is... this is what Bruce Lee wanted.
Yeah, but the thing we try to do with 4D, and I said, when all fights happen, they all start upright, standing upright.
Yeah.
100% of them. Everyone's I've ever been. I don't see too many fights in a chair. No. And even then you stand up first. So I thought, and what areas am I great at? Striking, clinching, weapons, group attack, and that's where all 90% of fights happen, because there's a variable. You might start thinking it's going to be like this, and then it ends up like this. Yeah. So I said, well, that's 4 different things to learn, and I know people are struggling to learn one thing. So the idea was, well, how do I give them one thing that covers all 4? Yeah. You know, so we said, how do we develop a code, sort of like a computer code that covers 60% of everything that happens, and I use the same thing. Whatever you do, I just use the same thing. I don't have to think as much, because when you get punched in the head, you're not really thinking, No. And we talked about type 1 thinking and type 2 thinking. So type 1 thinking is 2 and 2 is 4. You can do that while I'm hitting you in the head. But if I say 8 times 83.6, you're like, and then you have to stop. So you can't do bodily function and that sort of thinking. Yeah. So it was to simplify the process down, but meanwhile give you great function. And what's really happened is, because we simplified it all down, and based it on instincts like fence, which is the first instinct, fight and flight, and then cover once you're being hit, and clinch. Everyone does that. Yeah. Every single person on the planet does that if you hit them. Yeah. So we said, right, that's the place we start. And they're the 4 dimensions are striking, clinching, weapons, group attack. Yeah. So we said, that's where we start. And now we filter in all the JKD and the Kali stuff, and it has to filter through this gap, and it has to be simple.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I noticed was, it's simple, but then you build layers upon layers upon layers.
So what they said is that there's something called Hicks' law, which says simple decisions, you can operate them quicker than complex decisions. Complex equations. So therefore we said, well, let's have 5 simple binary decisions in a row, instead of giving you a big complicated one. So I can go yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and I'm much faster. Yeah. Much faster. Yeah. So, and because we also have a map. Because we said, well, how do you fight on a battlefield if you don't have a map? So we said, what's the map of all combat? Whatever it is, whatever system, it's on the ground, standing, whatever. What's the things that always happen? Yeah. So we drew a map, so you know where you are on the map. The map's a timeline. Yeah. And it's almost like your map, like you've got a GPS, or you've got an AWACS plane over you, looking at you and going, they're coming from the side, and you go, zzz, and you turn your map, so your map is always facing at them. Yes. It's your own map.
Yeah, but you said 2 things which I saw earlier, where you were saying you redefine the timeline. Yeah. So move back. That's just bought me enough time. And I love the way you said it. It was like, oh, you want it on easy options? Right,
yeah, easy payments. Because do you know me? Because otherwise you've got this much time. Yeah. So you've got like that much time, and you've got to move the person's hand from that side to that side. Yeah. So that's impossible because it's a square. It's like a diagonal, and you never get. They're coming at this speed. So what you've got to do is make that gap that big, or even that big. Yeah. And make the length of it really long. Yeah. So therefore, I'm only having to move you half an inch instead of having to move you a foot, and I've got 10 feet to do it in, but to do that without buying any more time. Yeah. That's why we use what we've been starting to call the Breen lean.
The Breen lean.
Yeah, where we go, and as you saw when we did Breen lean,
you
get the overhook and your arm's trapped.
That's it.
Where if you don't do that,
But it's crazy, because just as he's saying this, I'm listening to it, and I remember one of the accusations that used to be laid, this way before my time, was the Jeet Kune Do. It's scientific street fighting, and that was in the days when people were still, you're either fighting with your hand on your hip, which I'm not knocking, it's like.
I know some great guys who kill you with a.
You know that,
yeah.
Terry O'Neill will punch a hole in you.
Yeah, I've been hit by a few of them.
I was with Wayne Otto last week, and I'll tell you right now, that guy moves like something out of a.
He's only got one thing, but he's going to kill you.
He's got 1,000 ways to get that to you.
Yeah. But that's the thing. That was the thing, to return to what almost like they say in the Tao Te Ching about return to simplicity, isn't it? Return to natural simplicity. The weird thing is that we found the simpler we keep it for people, the happier they are, the calmer they are in real fighting, and the more we get. All those variables that you do in Mafalindo or whatever, that never happen,
Yeah.
Well, they don't happen because they're the 15th thing,
Yeah.
What's going to happen if that didn't happen, that didn't happen, that didn't happen. What you find is you do things and they just offer you all that stuff. Yeah. You don't have to look for it. They actually give it to you. They go, please, lock my hand up, and you go, no, surely you can't. It's just.
I've seen that shape. I've seen that shape before. I'm going to take advantage of it.
And that's happening all the time. Everyone's saying it's changed their game totally.
Yeah. Well, the first time we were at, I'm going to give him a shout out because he's an awesome guy. Tony Davis.
Yeah, fabulous man.
He's an awesome martial artist.
Awesome martial artist. Very open, lovely standard, lovely.
Great guy. Great demeanour.
Great demeanour. Trains like a.
He's a beast.
Yeah, and he's training everywhere, but also
he's taking it all.
He's like principle led, because if you're only copying, I think the trouble with JKD and the Kali, people just copying. They're not thinking. And if you get back to the real principles, it was about why. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Why, what, when, and how?
This was the thing. First of all, free yourself from the classical mess, and then you see people making JKD a classical mess.
Totally.
And then secondly, is I actually said this to Daniel Linero, which made him smile. It didn't make the cut at McGinley, which killed me, because I thought it was quite amusing. Which I said, at the end of the day, you could be the best Elvis tribute act in the world,
but you're not Elvis.
But if you're not 19 years of age and still sleeping with Gladys, you're not Elvis. No. And you're not eating hamburgers and falling off the toilet.
And I think the thing is, you've got to do your own stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what we try to do with this, is because it's a principle-based thing. How you play it, it's like doing a blues, a 12-bar blues. That's really a simple structure, but there's so many different 12-bar blues out there. And you can play it and say, "Oh, that's not a 12-bar blues." You go, "Well, actually, it is."
Yeah.
So we've tried to make it like that. We give you the map and the structure and how things work and how things all work. Not how we want them to work, but how they actually work. As you saw today, you offer me this, or this. And I just take what you offer.
Yeah.
And I only take what's in front of me, which is a good precept anyway for life, isn't it?
For life in general.
Instead of me going, oh, I want to be that. No, what's in front of me? I'm not just doing this.
Yeah.
I'm doing this job first, and what happens is then it's weird. People just giving you stuff.
Yeah. I've watched. I've watched Bob's thing. I've seen the 4D develop, and it's like
it's changing every week. Phil, I'm sure Phil said almost the same thing. Phil and I are going like that. We're going, oh, that's changed. And he's saying, oh, well, didn't you do that? Oh, no, we did that 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because what we found, people couldn't counter that, so we don't do that anymore. We do it like this. And now it's uncountable.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I've seen is obviously things change all the time. But all I've seen in action is just cause and effect all the time. Yeah, that's all. It's like, boom, take that. And it's like, not knocking Aikido, but Aikido doesn't work. And you go, but you're not offering me up a shape that suits Aikido.
No.
Whereas, I just really dig the way. I dig the way that you've got it all going on. It's just awesome.
Because we're sort of doing like Aiki at times.
Yeah.
But only if you offer that. I don't go for that. So because I want to go for this because this isn't operating so quick.
Yes.
The core, and then what I find is if I close down the core, you often give me the wrist or they'll give me the hand, and so you actually present the hand, and I go, oh, I know this lock.
Yeah.
You know, but really we don't want to be tied to any how do you say it? Anything. You know, we say I want to be on both feet because it's about fighting out the street with empty hands, not with big gloves that I can cover with. So I've got to cover differently against a ball hand. And then we want to attack fingers, wrist, elbow, head and arm, head, body, legs.
And what you wrote down from that is, what I'd like to ask is, right, I know, you started off in karate, and you did the real McCoy.
I did, back in the day,
Yeah, you went to Japan when...
It was hard there, but I mean, it was just hard here then. I mean, if you fought then, back in the early days, it was a bit of blood and guts. I mean, we didn't realise it was blood and guts because someone was like 19 or 20. So I was like, oh yeah. And I think what was great about those days is it was very amateurish. We just go, oh, what are you doing this week? Oh, I'm having a fight.
Just to tear up?
Yeah, just to tear up. And they go, who are you fighting? Oh, I don't know. Where is it? Oh, I don't know. It was like very casual. And sometimes you go in the pub beforehand and then have a fight. And it was like, you get all your teeth knocked out or, it was a different time. Because you didn't have to have lots of stamina.
No. Not
like that. But you had to have lots of attitude.
And
you had to have loads of, we all trained hard. But the training was different than it is now. Now it's a bit more athletic. Then it was a bit more blood and guts.
You had to have what they call moxie. You had to have that.
Perhaps that's the term for it. I don't know, but it was great.
And
I loved it.
I
got holes punched in me, I had blood coming out of both ears, and and all that, and that was always some bloke that you had never seen before.
Really?
Came up, bashed you, and disappeared into the woodwork, and you never saw him again.
Really?
And you go, who's he?
So what legendary names did you fight back in the day?
I fought Tiki a lot. Terry O'Neill.
Yeah.
Hamish Adam.
Yeah.
Hamish Adam always used to beat me, bastard. Yeah?
Rick Young mentioned him.
Yeah, Hamish Adam was my bête noire. I'd get through to semi-finals or something like that, and I might just get kicked in the face by him. And I knew it was coming, and he'd always get me.
You just couldn't stop it, eh?
Wasn't anyone else. I thought Dickie Woo. Dickie Woo's a scary fight.
Yeah, Dickie was something else. I know Dickie from the old Basket days.
Dickie Woo was up. I remember having to fight him, and it was Ishin A against King's Cross, and I was a captain in King's Cross, and those are the two best schools really at the time. And then so I was opposite Tiki, and I fought Tiki the week before in a display match at Crystal Palace, and so they had to line up. I thought, oh great, I've got Tiki again, and I'm going to do this sweep on him and take him down. I thought, oh, I'm going to try that again, and because I'd improved it over the week, and all of a sudden they went, and Dickie Woo, and it was like, and I went, I can remember for however long the matches were, I can't remember now. I was trying to punch him as hard as I could in the face, and he was trying to say something. You just hit his fist whistling by you. Neither of us hit the other because we were both trying to hit each other. So the head was moving. It was going like, and I remember coming back and saying, "It's the most frightening fight I've ever had where I didn't get hit."
Wow. Well, you'd
feel like it just like that,
Who was the hardest guy out of the old school that you fought?
O'Neill, definitely the hardest, definitely the best.
Brute, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think back then he was just the best. He scared everyone. He was the best. I mean,
technically,
he's the best.
Just
a beast. I mean, great kicks.
Yeah,
it was just.
Yeah, Rick Fay told me once that he threw a side kick at him, and then he just believed in karate after that. And Rick wasn't believing in karate.
I can remember fighting him in Bellevue, Manchester, and these round kicks and spinning kicks were like going over my head,
Wow.
And then I think I gyaku'd him, and then he elbowed me in the face, and all my lip just dissolved really here, and a little string thing hanging down, and and then somehow or other, I'm sure we had the corner judges sorted out, because then he got a chewy, I got wazari, and they said, oh, okay, hikawaki, that's a draw, and I went, it's not a draw,
don't know.
But I went to the hospital. And he went to the pub, it was like so who beat who.
Yeah,
really.
well, you know,
but it was great. I loved it. I was so proud of that. I was going, look, my lips totally destroyed.
now I know the story because Terry Barnett has said to me about how you first heard about Guro Dan, because obviously Terry's like my main teacher, but he was
my student since he was about 11, I think.
Yeah.
11 or 14. I think he was full. He said he was 14, but he was 11, I think.
Wonderful human being.
Yeah, lovely human being.
Yeah,
one of the best,
guy.
and we're still really close. And
yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
And he mentioned to me about how he was training with you, and then he said that one day he went, was it past Forbidden Planet, and there was a sign saying that Bruce Lee's student, No.
What really happened was I went to get a phone. I just moved into this new flat, and I phoned up to get a phone installed, and a guy came around and said, you're Bob Breen, and I went, yeah, because I've been on like the cover of Combat, because I taught the guy who thought up Combat, who was the first thing of that.
Who's that?
That was Jeffrey Roth. We were travelling together in the car,
right,
and we were reading Karate and Oriental Arts, which was about KOA, and it was all about Ikebana and Tai Chi. Yeah. And I said to him, we need something more about the combat. Well, 2 weeks later, Jeffrey came back with a banner. He said, this is a new magazine. It's going to be called Combat. So that's how it started.
I used to read about you in there when I was a 16-year-old
kid. So I was going to be on the front cover of the first issue, and I got supplanted by a guy called Bruce Lee, which is
oh really? Yeah? I've heard of him.
I've never heard of him, but I don't know who he was. which is cool. Anyway, Jay came in and he said, well, you're Bob Breen, and he said, well, I'm Jay Dobbin and I do Eskrima. So I said, well, I'm interested in Eskrima, because there was a few articles coming out about Dan and stuff like that. Yeah. And so we did that for about a year, but I contacted Dan before that, about a year or two before. I got no answer, typical, no answer until 2 weeks before, or I think a week before they were over. I got Norman Breen phoned me up and said, we're coming over, would you like to organise something? So I said, yeah. So I had a seminar with 50 people there. Everyone came from the academy apart from about 2 other people.
Right, yeah, I've seen the picture of this.
And we did that in a week, and that was in the Ivanhoe Hotel.
Oh yes.
Which my dad used to be the banqueting manager for that group of hotels. So that's how we got the hotel for free.
Wow. Yeah. And then that was
it. We had it there for 2 years, 1979 and 80, and then 81, 84, and then it was for 29 years we had it.
Yeah, I remember. And what was it that just excited you about him when you first met him?
I think on that first evening, Dan came over with Jeff Imada, and he really went double axe, single axe against empty hand, double knife, on the ground, standing up, and it was like I knew fighting was, that you think you're going into this, and then it's that, and then it's that plus that, and then it's this again, and then, like fights have an organic thing that you don't really decide if someone's going to hit you with a baseball bat or a garden rake.
You just deal with it.
You just deal. You think it's empty hands and then it's not. Or you think it's him and then there's 8 of them. And they seem to deal with all of that, and it was marvellous. It was just an unbelievable evening. And I just went, okay, that's it. I'm not doing any more stuff. And I used to do something called Kenbukai, which was our thing. Yeah. So we used to do a bit of boxing, bit of judo, bit of throwing, bit of karate, and it was all. Everyone was on that track. You got to realise that even though Bruce was around, that was what was happening then.
Yeah.
Doors were coming down. I was fighting Wing Chun people like Joseph Cheng.
Right.
We just fight each other. We want to film together for a couple of months, so we just filmed. We just fought all the time. We always like going, bashing each other and going, oh yeah, you did finger jabs, I did punches. Okay, finger jabs are better. Okay, it was like that. So it was almost like happening. It is now, like it is happening with Andy and Phil now. There's new energy, new evolution. That was happening then.
Feeding off each other.
Yeah, but what Bruce had, or Dan had that night, where we had lots of bits together. Yeah, we had lots of bits together, and they had integration.
Yeah.
And I went, no, I have that. And so that's when we started JKD, and then we brought Mikey Nye over, you know, and Pasa, you know, everybody over, and that's when Filipino martial arts spread over Europe. Then I introduced it to other people in Europe as well.
It's funny because this is one of the questions I want to ask. So I know we have to wrap up soon, but as far as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu goes, you were one of the first to host.
We had the first black belt seminar in the UK.
And who was that with?
Chris Houter.
Chris Houter, the man himself.
Another
guy I want to get.
Oh, he's
awesome.
A legend.
Yeah.
He's a legend. I was out with him the other night. He's
really?
fantastic.
Fantastic. Is he still in town at the moment?
No, he just went home yesterday. He might come for next year.
Oh, definitely.
Because when he heard about the tribe thing today, he just went, wow.
Yeah, and he's a real thinker, isn't he?
No, he's lovely. He's a JKD man, you know.
Yeah.
Think street, play sport, practice art. You know, that's it. You know.
Now that's the soundbite right there.
But it's been great. I mean, I've been training for 47 years now. No, been teaching for 47 years and training for nearly 50 next year. So, and it's great. And we're still, we're all banging away, aren't we?
Having a go, yeah.
We're still banging away.
Bob's an absolute legend. And again, it's like there's most people inspire me in some way, but Bob is again part of this. At the age of 16, I knew I should do JKD.
Yeah.
But I never got into it till I was 30.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, it's like Terry said. Maybe if you came in at 16, you wouldn't have done it. Bob, you don't even know this story. I was living in Finchley at 19.
Oh yeah.
And I went from Finchley, and I was on my way to Hoxton Square to train with Bob. And I met an old schoolmate of mine as I was getting on the tube in Finchley, and we ended up going on the beer, got steaming, and I always say that was that sliding doors moment.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, if I'd done that, but like, to tell you nothing but the truth, I was a complete arse at 19, so you probably have thrown me out.
Whichever age you come into this, it's great, isn't it? I mean, and it's not only about hitting people and punching people, I think it's about changing people's lives. I think for lots of us, without this as an anchor, we'd be all over the place.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Rick over lunch, and we were saying about how important it is to be a hub for other people to know that you're there, but also you're getting out of it as well, because you like people, and it's the whole human interactivity, and we're all helping each other up the hill. There's nobody at the top of the hill saying we're all going, come on up, it's great, you know?
That's it.
It's like a team effort.
Yeah, we all work together, and it's like, I always say, first of all, you know, it's Prozac and Tide Pad form, and I think it's better for you, you know.
Yeah.
It'll be cheaper in the long run, and more importantly, it's like the start of Cheers, you know, the TV show.
It is like Cheers.
Where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came.
And also there's that thing about, if you bash people, particularly amongst blokes, I think it's hard to get an intimate relationship with blokes in without being weird. Yeah. You know? But I'm really close to loads of people who I've bashed, and we bashed each other, and there's an honesty about it, which really is just great and very deep.
Yeah, and what it does is it supersedes all of the nonsense that society's put on us, and all the bullshit, and then you just turn around and go, look, you know, on Tuesday you battered me, Wednesday you might batter me again, and then the strange dichotomy of it all is it's going, you're actually here to you're going to give me skills to make you better than me.
Yeah.
And then it's like, why would you do that? Well, isn't that what all human beings should do? We should
it's just it's a profound thing. I sometimes think, where would I be if I hadn't done this? You know, and also you get a chance to impact loads of other people.
Yeah. But I know what I'd be. I'd have a way more boring life, and I wouldn't have anywhere near as many cool people.
Same here.
Guru Bob here with me.
No.
And this is
4D.
4D right there.
It's spreading all over.
Yeah, it's changing everything, and it's open part of the tribe brand.
It's open to everyone. It's for all ages. It's simple, direct, and effective.
Yeah, and then
total stand-up combat. We're doing it with Phil Norman of Ghost, and we're doing it with Andy Norman of Defence Lab, and we sort of all those bits interlink.
And it can be as easy or as difficult as you want it.
Yeah, it's as deep as you want it to be.
It's a means to an end, or it's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah. It's lovely. Yeah. It's all good fun. You know.
Well, Bob's awesome. The last thing I have to get in on this, when I interviewed Richard Bastillo and I told him that you were a jazz musician.
Oh yeah.
He's trying to get
a bad jazz musician. Yeah.
No. There's no such thing as a bad jazz musician.
Yeah.
You know, you got to remember this is all subjective. You know, jazz is jazz, man. That's what you do, jazz. Your opinion means nothing. This is my jazz.
Yeah.
But he was going to get a JKD super band together.
And was it?
I've got to call Anton on this. What he plays the
bass.
We've got Terry Barnett calling us now. We're going to have to go. But are you up for the band if we can get it?
I'm up for the band.
Terry in.
I'm up for the band. He's a great player.
Yeah, he is a great player.
Do you know
what Rick Young says he's going to play? He said he's going to play the triangle. But I don't know if that's the jiu-jitsu triangle or the musical triangle.
No, it's the Count Basie Orchestra's on
triangle. The Count Basie
Triangle. The Count Basie Orchestra's on Triangle.
It's a pleasure, man. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.